You're welcome back to The Pulse. This is where we begin as Agric Minister Eric Kpebu has announced a bold government plan to establish a major poultry processing plant in Bichim, a move he says will finally shift Ghana from its heavy reliance on imported chicken to large-scale homegrown production. Well, Ghana consumes about 400,000 metric tons of chicken annually, but produces barely 57,000 metric tons, forcing the country to import more than 80% of its needs at a cost of nearly $400 million every year. Hotels and restaurants remain the biggest consumers, driving daily demand, and local farmers simply cannot meet. But the minister insists this new processing facility will be a game changer, creating a strong value chain, boosting local production and keeping hundreds of millions of cedis circulating within the economy.
Ladies and gentlemen, looking at the huge investment we are making in the poultry subsector and the vigorous campaign for participation that the ministry has launched, we anticipate that the nation is going to produce a lot of poultry in the coming months. Hence, our decision to set up a poultry processing factory in Bichim. The procurement processes for the factory have been completed, and the salt cutting ceremony will be performed by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, on Thursday, 27th November 2025. Collectively, these poultry-focused interventions represent a coordinated national effort to substantially reduce Ghana's reliance on imported poultry products, create sustainable employment opportunities for youth and women, improve access to affordable protein-rich food, strengthen resilience across the domestic poultry value chain. The ministry remains fully committed to empowering both large-scale poultry enterprises and smallholder farmers to reclaim the domestic poultry market and secure Ghana's food future.
So that was the Agric Minister, Eric Kpebu. But really, how valuable is the poultry sector when you narrow it down to the hospitality industry? How much chicken do hotels and restaurants rely on to serve their customers? What share of that comes from locally raised birds? And how will this proposed processing plant change the equation for an industry that consumes so much? Let's get on to Zoom right now, and joining me to break this down is the National Treasurer of the Association of Ghana Industries and CEO of Coconut Grove Hotels, Raf Ayite. Grateful for your time this afternoon. As an industry player in the hospitality business, what's your reaction to the minister's announcement to establish a poultry processing plant right here in Ghana?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and compliments to your guests who are watching us. I think this is a very, very brilliant idea, because it's important that we focus on the entire value chain. And the processing of poultry is a very, very critical area in that value chain. Amongst them also, we need to consider, how do we bring in our day-old chicks? How can we develop that industry? And then, very importantly also, the feeding of the day-old, the birds to maturity. That is also a whole business on its own. And then after the processing plant, how do we go into preservation and distribution? So I am very happy that they haven't cherry-picked and they are considering it as a whole value chain. That for us is very, very critical. For us in the hospitality, we do quite a big chunk of our products being poultry. And it's very, very important for us to note that we have certain hotels in Ghana that are doing an average of about 10,000 beds a month. 10,000 beds a month. And because of inconsistencies in supplies, they're not getting the cuts that they prefer. Some are tempted to go outside. So this intervention, I'll call it a very, very important intervention, is very, very helpful to the industry. You know, we have to be deliberate to solve issues. solve issues pertaining to poultry, solve issues. The minister just spoke, and the entire import bill for food is $3 billion US. I mean, that's whooping. So it's not by chance that we have stress so much on the city. So if we can reduce it, let's say 5–10% a year, that would be very, very helpful. But it has to be deliberate. And really, the concentration shouldn't just be on chicken. We have ducks that are very hardy. We have guinea fowls. We have turkeys. We have other game, for example, ostrich. So it shouldn't just be limited to chicken. Yes, chicken broilers take just 6 weeks to mature, but we should go beyond that with the hardy ones that are even much easier to produce. So to sum it up, I will say it's a very, very welcome intervention. For us at Coconut Grove, for our entire 31 years, we have professed and we have resolved that we'll only use locally raised chicken. It's quite expensive because the imported one on the average is about 40 cedis a kilo. But we end up spending about 52 cedis per kilo, okay? So we could have been much more profitable, but because of the deliberate nature of our business, that we want to empower Ghanaian businesses, is deliberate. It costs us, but definitely we need to start transforming the face of agriculture and the indigenization of our economy somewhere. So it's very much welcome.
The price bit is what a lot of consumers complain about, that the locally produced chicken are usually much more expensive than the imported ones. So how are you coping? In the end, you end up, transferring the cost to the consumer, correct?
Well, it's a whole chain altogether. So as much as we can mitigate in certain areas, we do. But really, I believe that we need to really look at where the farmers are coming from, especially the cost of production, okay? I stand to be corrected, but the maize that we produce, thankfully this year, we have a glut of maize. Not thankfully, but we have enough maize. But on the regular basis, the local production for maize, which is a very, very important ingredient in the poultry feed sector, is barely a month of what we produce locally. So what goes into it, the soya bean, the maize, and of course the other concentrates, the reduction in cost of it is very, very important. And that's one area that we also need to pay very much attention to reduce the cost of production. So for us in the hospitality industry, those who have resolved to use only locally raised chicken, it costs a bit more. I mean, I was in Sunyani last 2 weeks at a restaurant, and they have resolved that that's what they are going to be using. Mackenzie restaurant, that's what they use. So if everybody else is deliberate, then the farmer knows that there's a gap that needs to be filled. Then the processor knows that there's a gap that has to be filled. But if we don't have that concerted aggregate of demand, then, it makes investment in that area quite difficult. But I want to say again that the processing plant is very, very critical and very, very timely.
Interesting. And finally, you're vying for the AGI presidency. If you win, what value and leadership will you bring to the association, especially now that you are full of praise for this announcement by the Agric Minister?
Well, the Association of Ghana Industries has been around for 68 years. I've had the opportunity of being in high office for the last 12 years. I've learned a lot, especially interacting with big companies, medium companies, small companies. So I've come to appreciate that we need to have the Association of Ghana Industries that we want. And the focus is on innovation. The focus is on encouraging all businesses to succeed, especially the small, medium enterprise ones. They are going to be my focus. The big ones, they will also be my focus. Sourcing for low cost of credits for our businesses, and overall making sure that the Ghanaian businesses succeed and succeed very well.
Ralph Ayuta is the National Treasurer for the Association of Ghana Industry. Thank you very much. Now let's take you live to the office of the Special Prosecutor, where private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu was invited by the OSP to come answer some questions. And my colleague Fatau Bayaga is standing by with the latest. Fatau, we understand that Martin Kpebu just exited the building. What more can you tell us?
Yes, so this afternoon, private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu appeared before the OSP to provide further and better particulars to substantiate the claims that he made a few days ago in relation to the Special Prosecutor. And this afternoon, in fact, he said that during this meeting, he spent about 33 minutes in the interrogation process, and basically they were asking questions about some of the claims that he made. But I have him here with me just to appreciate some of the things that happened inside there when he met the officers at the office of the Special Prosecutor. Hello, Counsel. Thank you very much. You're live on Joy News. Now, talk to us about this meeting today with the OSP.
Yeah, so Fatah, you know, I said that I have to be going the next minute or two, so it means that this interview cannot last beyond 2 minutes. Look, let's be very clear. I was not interrogated. No. We haven't even reached that, and interrogation is not even the right word to use at all in this context. I'm here to provide further information to them. Then they will use that in investigating the allegations I've made. But you see, before you get to that stage, there are a lot of legal hurdles to cross. So we've not yet reached the stage where I've handed over the information. I've not yet handed over.
So what did you do today?
Yes, so we are negotiating the protocols, the things to do in order for me to hand over my information. So that's what we are negotiating. So that's what the 33 minutes were used for. You see, the Special Prosecutor Office is for all of us. So I don't want to go into the details of what we discussed, the protocols. No, that one we will leave that, we will give it some confidentiality, right? Yes, that much. I think I want to give it confidentiality. When we are done, then the final results will be put out there. Yes.
But basically, what do you make of this whole process in terms of this interrogation process and all of that? So what do you make of it?
So say fact-finding process.
So what do you make of that?
The fact-finding inquiry they are trying to do. That's what they themselves call it. Yeah, the fact-finding inquiry they are attempting to do is good. It's good riddance. You see, when I called on Kissie Jabin to resign on the 8th of November, right? Because he had allowed Ofuriatta to escape. After that week, it appeared the topic had died down. The following week, the following Saturday, I repeated it on TV3, but briefly. So it is good riddance that he now invited me to come. So because he invited me to come, because of the comments I made that he should leave because he allowed Ofuriatta to abscond from Ghana, etc., it has brought the case to the front burner. Now it's a full case, and see how Ghanaians have joined in. You see, even this morning, Apostle Abraham Lincoln Labi organized a one-man demonstration, and I went there to help him. You see, at 12 o'clock news, Joy FM, you carry the Joy News, etc., all the media houses, TV3. So you see that, and Ghanaians are participating. Go on social media, you see how they are baying for the blood of Kissie Jabinda. He must leave, he must leave, he must leave, he must leave, he must leave. So that is the consciousness. So that is the constitution we are protecting, because what is at stake now is a betrayal of the Ghanaian people and the constitution, because the preamble, Article 1, Article 35, and Article 125 of the Constitution require that we respect the sovereignty of the Ghanaian people. So if we set up a public institution and it is allegedly being frustrated by other institutions, the prudent and common sense thing to do is to come back to the Ghanaian people and report. That's how come when President Kufuor was interfering in Martin Amidu's work, Amidu came and held a press conference. The same way Kissie Jabin, when he felt other institutions were not working, he came and did Ankwanuma Part 1. So he should have come in this case to do Ankwanuma Part 2. Simple.
But
so
Counsel,
that's a good riddance.
What do you make of the OSP investigating or looking into this particular issue? People are saying that maybe a different entity should have handled this. What do you make of that?
Excellent. So that is what we are looking at. I don't want to go into details. Let's just, so what Ghanaians started saying, even before I first came here last Wednesday, that's what we are negotiating. Yes.
But the director, Samit Ako, said that last week, in fact, they called you several times just to, have you appear before them, but you declined answering their calls. How do you respond to this?
Yeah, so two short answers. One, Samit Ako has my number. He never called me. Rather, he said, yes, they allowed somebody a string number to call. I'm able to pick as many strange calls as I can, but I cannot pick all. So that's how come if you need somebody urgent and you don't know that person and you call and you don't get him, you see usually they'll say, oh, let somebody who has his number, somebody who knows, call him. So if it was Samida who had called and I didn't respond for over 24 hours, there would have been a cause. But this one is a strange number. And if I couldn't call back, what is wrong? And look, my brother, my office is about 10 minutes away from this place. So OSP, even if their cars were spoiled, if they gave the letter to the officer, he could have walked to my office.
Thank you very much, sir. So that is private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu speaking to us after meeting some officers of the Office of the Special Prosecutor this afternoon to respond to questions in relation to some claims that he made a few days ago about the fact that the OSP is corrupt and also some conflict of interest in relation to the Kenneth Oforiate's SML deal agreement. So that's the situation here at the OSP. Back to you, Kenneth.
Don't go yet, because earlier you covered the protests calling for the sack of the OSP, which Martin Kpebu himself was part of it. How did that end?
So, Kenneth, they began at the Obras port. I think there were about 50 individuals who, in fact, said that they were calling or demanding the immediate removal of the special prosecutor. In fact, they say that he's not fit for purpose. He's been in office for a very long time. They've not seen any significant work from his outfit. And that was simply the reason why they came out in their numbers to protest, calling the president to remove him. So, in fact, they are asking for two things. It's either the SP is removed or the entire office is dissolved. So it ended very well. They presented a petition to the presidency. The convener of the group, Apostle Abraham Lincoln Labi, he said that they are giving the presidency 2 months to respond to this particular petition. If that is not done, they themselves will take different ways or means to ensure that the special prosecutor resigns from office. They say that they don't want to see him again. He has not done anything tangible when it comes to the fight against corruption. Shamima Muslim, deputy spokesperson at the presidency, received the petition and assured them that it will be presented to the president and they will hear from him.
Still at the office of the Special Prosecutor, Martin Kpebu, who you spoke to a while ago, just exited the building. But paint a picture of the place to us. Did he come alone? Did he come with a lawyer? We know that he's a lawyer himself, but usually when such invitations are sent out, people come with their lawyers. What's the atmosphere like there?
It's a very calm atmosphere. Kenneth, as you know, when we got here, they prevented us from going inside the premises of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. In fact, Martin Kpebu himself came very calm. I'm told he came with some other lawyers, but we did not have the opportunity to see the persons that he came with. But clearly, he told us that he came here with some individuals who supported him or who are supporting his cause in relation to the, he doesn't want to call it interrogation, but what he's, being questioned on by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. So it's been quite calm. A lot of security officers are here, ensuring that the right persons are allowed inside the premises of the OSP.
There's a man on the ground at the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Thank you very much. Now, a company linked to Strategic Mobilization Limited, SML, was awarded a contract by the Ghana Airports Company Limited for technical work it had little to no prior experience executing. 3 days before the December 7th election, the Ghana Airports Company Limited awarded a revenue assurance and auditing contract to Evertex Logistics Limited, a mining company with no prior experience in performing this service. The investigative piece by Ajwa Adobia Owusu, Evans Aziamo Mensah, and Manasseh Awuni Azure uncovers how the deal was structured, the affiliations behind it, and the questions it raises about due diligence and procurement integrity at one of Ghana's most critical state institutions. This story is titled SML Disguised at Kotoka. Enjoy.
In December 2023, Our investigation revealed that a company formed a month into the Akufo-Addo administration was handpicked for multiple government contracts under very murky circumstances. The company, Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited (SML), was awarded contracts by the Ministry of Finance and the Ghana Revenue Authority (GRA) to perform the following so-called revenue assurance services: transaction audits at the ports, external price verification at the ports, downstream petroleum products measurement audit, upstream petroleum audit, and revenue assurance in the mining sector.
They didn't have any experience before they started doing this work. There were experienced companies around. There was no bid.
The contracts were awarded under the single source procurement method, even after the Public Procurement Authority (PPA) denied approval for the use of the method on the basis that the newly formed SML lacked the capacity to perform these services. After paying hundreds of millions to SML, a KPMG report later revealed that the transaction audit and external price verification services were already being performed by the GRA. Those contracts were terminated after our investigation and the subsequent KPMG report ordered by the President. Our investigation, which occasioned the KPMG report, revealed that the downstream petroleum sector contracts to SML was needless. SML stated the following on its website.
The SML digitalization of downstream petroleum product measurement has turned the tide of underreporting, diversion and dilution of fuel products and general non-compliance in the petroleum industry sector.
Our investigation revealed that a company called Rock Africa had been contracted by the National Petroleum Authority (NPA) to curb the diversion of petroleum products. Another company, Nationwide Technologies Limited, was engaged to undertake fuel marking to curb dilution and detect smuggled petroleum products into the country. To tackle possible underdeclaration and other anomalies, the NPA and GRA deployed the Enterprise Relational Database Management System (ERDMS), which is also used to block non-compliant oil marketing companies from trading. The ERDMS is linked to the GRA's revenue management system, ICOMS, in order to track and tax volumes of petroleum products lifted. When we confronted SML about its false claims of checking under declaration, diversion and dilution, its managing director, Christian Tetesoti, admitted that the company was not performing any of those services. SML deleted the false claims from its website. SML also claimed that in the first 2 years of its operation, the company saved Ghana about 3 billion cedis. When we confronted the managing director with evidence, he claimed the media, including the state-owned Daily Graphic, misreported SML.
I've told you that I'm not aware, because when we were told about the publication, we even called the...
As we speak this morning, still on your website.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. To be honest, I don't even know website matter.
Despite the false claims about its operation and impact, which SML could not defend, the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, unilaterally instructed in 2023 that SML's monitoring services be expanded to the upstream oil production and gold mining sectors in Ghana. The expanded contract initiated by Ken Ofori-Atta entitled SML to more than $100 million every year for a period of 5 years, subject to another 5-year renewal.
The customs officials from GRA are the gold room, gold board officials are there, and the Chamber of Mines is also represented there. So there are enough checks and balances.
When we published our investigation into SML, President Akufo-Addo ordered KPMG to audit the SML contract. The KPMG report revealed that the contracts awarded to SML had breached multiple laws, including the PPA Act. GRA and SML had falsely claimed that the volumes of petroleum products only increased to 400 million liters per month after SML began its operation in June 2020. But KPMG's audit report found that
1. An average of 400 million litres per month was already being recorded in Ghana in 2019 and the first quarter of 2020, as per our review of the NPA data. 2. NPA and GRA recorded a significant decrease in lifting volumes in April 2020. That is 336 million litres and 311 million litres respectively, as a result of the COVID-19 lockdown spanning the period 1st to 20th April 2020. 3. Volumes recorded after April 2020 were constantly above 400 million litres. 4. In the latter half of 2020, when SML commenced operations, data comparison from 3 sources indicates that NPA reported higher annual volumes than both GRA and SML. Following NPA, GRA reported the next highest annual volumes, with SML recording the lowest annual volumes.
The KPMG audit also showed that SML was not responsible for the revenue increment in the downstream petroleum sector. In the heat of the 2024 presidential elections, candidate John Mahama of the opposition NDC served a strong notice that his government would discontinue the SML contract.
An NDC government under me will not accept or recognize this SML agreement. Whatever audit they do, I say we won't accept or respect any agreement with SML. And for the money that they've taken already, we will hold them to account for that money.
3 days to the 2024 election, however, a shady revenue assurance and auditing contract similar to that of the SML scandal was cooked at the Ghana Airports Company Limited, GACL. This contract, which appeared to be backdated, was awarded to Evertex Logistics Limited, a mining and stevedoring company with no record of having ever performed the services. Our investigation revealed that this company is linked to SML. An email address on the website of Evertex, evertel@ghana.com, is the same email address on the website of Evans Timbers Limited, the parent company of SML. A search at the Office of the Registrar of Companies also revealed that the beneficial owner of SML, Evans Edusei, is also the beneficial owner of Evertex Logistics, the mining company awarded the auditing contract at the airport. In fact, Evans Edusei is both the CEO of SML and the CEO of Evertex. The list of workers submitted by Evertex to the Ghana Airports Company to execute the Evertex contract contains the names of notable SML employees and managers. The SML head of engineering, Hamdan Abubakar, is named in the Evertex list. SML's head of IT, Prince Sapon, is also on the list to perform the Evertex contract. A former head of legal at the GRA, Philip Jude Mensah, now an SML employee, witnessed the Evertex contract with the Ghana Airports Company. He is on the Evertex list, together with a former commissioner of customs and now general manager of SML, Isaac Krensel. SML sneaked to the airport disguised as Evertex.
Under our labor laws, an employee cannot be and take salaries from 2 companies.
You are better off going with a company that is mature, that is old, that you assume has capacity. But they couldn't because of the controversies around SML and how exposed the company was in the public eye. It clearly tells you that they themselves admit that they've been doing things wrong and they don't have even the confidence to go working or bidding with the same company. If they were really genuinely convinced that the work that they are doing is generating returns, I don't see why you would want to rather metamorphose into another company to go bid for another government project.
The managing director and board member of the Ghana Airports Company, Mrs. Yvonne Nana Efriye-Opare, said she did not know that SML and Evertex had any links at the time of the contract. The board chairman of the GACL at the time of the contract, Paul Adomochiri did not agree to a recorded interview. In a phone call, he remembered Evertex only by its links to SML, referring to Evertex as the SML people. Paul Adomochiri revealed that the CEO of SML, Evans Eduse, who he had identified through media reports, was present when Evertex appeared before the GACL board for a presentation. When news of the SML scandal first broke, Paul Adomochiri admitted meeting SML's management.
When we heard the story yesterday, we dashed to their office there in Osu, not too far from us. And I sat down with them. Last night I was with them. And I said, you SML, are you the people who are duplicating and collecting money from government for nothing? Well, they laughed and said, okay, come in. I went in with my people. We sat down, opened the books. Let's see what is there. Then they showed us, okay, we're quite convinced and satisfied that what they are telling us is true. So we're going to share it with you.
A procurement expert, Kobina Tabedu, has revealed that Evertex and SML should not qualify for any audit and revenue assurance contracts without licenses from the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ghana. The Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ghana has confirmed that firms and individuals that perform auditing services must be licensed. Failure to do so violates the law, and offenders are liable to a fine, a prison sentence, or both. Though they perform auditing services for the state, SML and Evertex have not been licensed, according to a right to information response we obtained from the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ghana. The managing director of SML, Christian Tetesoti, is a former president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ghana, the institution whose mandatory license SML failed to obtain.
So it means anybody who purports to or goes ahead to act in the public practice of accountancy and doesn't have the requisite licensing, as in a full member, or hasn't been issued a practice license, is supposed to either pay a fine or go to jail, or both.
A search at the Office of the Registrar of Companies also revealed that at the time of winning the contract at the airport, Evertex did not have auditing and revenue assurance as part of its principal activities. Evertex only included audit, revenue assurance, and software solutions in its principal activities 3 months after winning the airport contract. Evertex has not responded to our request for comment. The managing director of the Ghana Airports Company, Yvonne Opari, said her organization awarded the contract to Evertex because the airports company lacked internal capacity, such as personnel and time, to deliver the service. The airport company has 1,580 employees on its payroll. Information we obtained from the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNET, shows that Evertex has only one worker. The information that Evertex has only one worker was part of the document submitted to the GACL for the contract. So, the Ghana Airports Company awarded the contract to Evertex knowing that Evertex had only one employee. Evertex, SML's sister company, also appeared to be dormant and was resurrected only for the airport's contract. Its tax record revealed that the company had zero chargeable income for 2022, 2023, and 2024, the year it won the airport's contract. Evertex paid no tax in 2022 and 2023. The tax clearance certificate it used for the airport's contract shows that it was charged a tax of only 2,000 cedis in 2024, out of which it paid 1,000 cedis.
If you want to conduct public procurement for government to spend his money on you, for you to make money, you must show yourself to be a good citizen, and a good citizen pays his taxes. Now, if you take that good citizen and for 2 years he hadn't paid any taxes, is he really a good citizen? Or what is the reason why he hasn't paid taxes? If he is dormant, why is he now resurrecting? if he's not dormant, why is it that he hasn't been paying taxes? That alone should raise a red flag and should cause you to want to set them aside.
The GSCL also claimed that its contract with Evertex was occasioned by an internal report that showed that companies handling cargo services for the Ghana Airports Company might be under-declaring revenues in the sector. The internal audit report that necessitated the Evertex contract was submitted to the GSCL in August 2024, but its board minutes revealed that the processes for the award of the Evertex contract began in June 2024. So, a contract whose processes started in June 2024 could not have been necessitated by a report submitted in August 2024. The GACL board minutes also revealed that the company that did the presentation to the board for the contract was DevNest Systems and not Evertex. The board instructed the contract to be awarded to DevNest based on the presentation and the capacity the company demonstrated. DevNest was however replaced with Evertex when the GSCL was writing to the PPA for approval to use the single source procurement method. Minutes from the board meetings and a letter from DevNest Systems to the GSCL, which we obtained during our investigation, revealed that DevNest Systems appeared before the GSCL board on 3 occasions. The last appearance was August 16, 2024, during which fees for the audit and revenue assurance services were agreed. From that day, however, DevNest Systems disappeared from all the processes for the award of the contract. Instead of DevNest, Evertex was listed on the single source request to the PPA. The Airports Company also awarded the contract to Evertex based on the presentation by DevNest to the board and the subsequent agreement the board reached with the same company. When we first contacted Paul Adomotri on the phone, he said he did not remember the circumstances under which Evertex, instead of DevNest, was given the contract. Before he asked to refresh his memory and return with the answer, he said if the 2 companies were subsidiaries, then there was nothing wrong. He, however, admitted that if the 2 companies were unrelated, then awarding the contract to Evertex based on the presentation made by DevNest Systems was problematic. You can't have Company A come and do a presentation, then you award to unrelated Company B. If there's actually no relationship between the 2 companies, then there's a problem, Paul Adomotri said in a phone call. And that was what happened. Our checks indicate that DevNest Systems and Evertex are 2 distinct companies with separate shareholders and directors. In a response via WhatsApp after he had refreshed his memory on the matter, Paul Adomotri said, quote, "In response to your point 5, my consultation with documents from the board indicates that while DevNest did the first presentation, Evertex came in subsequently. Contrary to Paul Adomotri's claim, there is no mention of Evertex in the board minutes we requested and obtained regarding the contract. He, Paul Adomotri, chaired the meetings and signed the board minutes. When we pointed this out to him, he promised to respond the following day, July 28, 2025, but has since failed to do so. Contrary to his claim that he recognized the SML CEO during the board presentation, sources close to Evans Edusei say he did not appear at the board meeting. Paul Adomotri has also not responded to claims by some GACL officials that he masterminded the contract and called some officials to take some actions during the procurement process. The CEO of DevNest Systems, Albert Ejelaye, is listed as a manager for the auditing and revenue assurance contract being executed by Evertex, which shows that he is benefiting from the arrangement. A request for comment sent to him is yet to receive a response. Mrs. Yvonne Opare has said that per standard practice, firms wanting to do business with the Airports Company would first approach management with a proposal. If interested, Management would then request a presentation or further engagement. Management would then write to the board it thinks the board should be involved. In the case of the Evertex contract, however, the process started at the board level. Multiple sources at the Ghana Airports Company said the board chairman, Paul Adomotri, brought Evertex. Mr. Adomotri would neither confirm nor deny this allegation, but said even if he brought them, it was not illegal. It was not surprising to hear that he brought Evertex to the airport because he had preached revenue assurance while defending SML.
There's been revenue assurance in all sectors, from Kojo Ban reduced time in the telecom sector. Almost every sector we have tried to do revenue assurance. That's what Suba was doing at the telecom center. Now the NCA has built facilities in NCA to be able to do that themselves, because a revenue assurance is always very, very important, and it is necessary. Revenue assurance is necessary. I'm not so sure whether people who did the documentary didn't understand it, but revenue assurance occurs everywhere in the global world.
Apart from the board and management of the Ghana Airports Company, another institution complicit in the Evertex deal is the PPA. In the letter requesting approval for the single source procurement method, the GACL claimed that Evertex, quote, had a long and successful track record of carrying out similar assignments expeditiously, end of quote. This claim is not backed by any evidence, but the PPA granted the approval. The GACL letter did not even state a single reason why the contract should be awarded through single source procurement and not competitive tendering, but the PPA granted the approval without any question.
When it comes to the conduct of audits or revenue assurance, is this something that there isn't a suitable alternative? No, this doesn't pass. B says that where there is an urgent need for the goods or services, this one doesn't even come in, because there's nothing like there's an urgent need. The third one, where owing to a catastrophic event, there is an urgent need for goods, there is no catastrophic event here, so it is not even applicable.
The request letter to the PPA, signed by Yvonne Opare, also stated, quote, details in respect of the team composition, technical expertise and CVs of proposed team is in the attached profile, into bracket, Annex C, end of quote. The said Annex C did not contain the team compositions, technical expertise or CVs of the proposed team. The PPA did not raise any question but granted the approval. That Annex C was still blank even in the final contract between Evertex and GACL, because Mrs. Yvonne Opare said at the time of signing the contract, Evertex had failed to submit the list of its team members for the contract. In fact, the snipped document attached to the request to the PPA clearly showed that Evertex had only one worker. This should have raised questions about SML's sister company's competence, but the PPA failed to flag it even in its due diligence, if it carried out any at all.
A tenderer in public procurement shall possess the necessary professional, technical, and environmental qualifications. Assuming whatever they are going to do has an environmental impact. So it's 2, financial resources. 3, equipment and fiscal facilities. 4, managerial capability, reliability, experience in the procurement objects. Now, experience here means you've done it before. So it is incumbent on Ghana Airports to check the background of these people. Have they done it before? If they have, where?
A critical look at contract documents also suggests that the Evertex contract may have been backdated. The PPA approval letter was dated December 2, 2024 and was received by the managing director of the Airports Company on December 3. She minuted the letter to the director of procurement on December 11 with the instruction to, quote, proceed with the award letter. That instruction was received by the Director of Procurement on December 12, and the award letter was written and given to the Managing Director to sign. However, the letter that was prepared based on the December 11 instruction was dated December 5. Also, the contract that was signed after the December 11 instructions was dated December 4.
At what point did the procurement office, based on the approval, now start the process? So it presupposes that everything should have happened after the 12th.
The Managing Director, Yvonne Opari, says the dates could be a mistake, but there is evidence that appointments and contracts signed after an election often face serious scrutiny when a new party wins the election. By December 11, when the Managing Director minuted the PPA approval to the Procurement Director, the opposition NDC had won the election, and a new government was likely to raise questions about contracts awarded after the election.
This conversation about revenue assurance was so topical. Everybody was discussing it. We're worried about 22 million plus every month going into pockets for no work done. And then they metamorphose into another company. Whilst we're debating the issue, they go to another state agency to go and milk it, essentially. It was quite brave on the side of the company, bizarre on the part of the contracting party, the Ghana Airport Company, and very shameful for the government itself.
According to the contracts, Evertex is entitled to 15% of revenues it uncovers in its auditing. This arrangement appears reasonable until one encounters the details. In the Evertex technical proposal, which the GACL accepted, the 15% is to be charged on any additional revenue beyond the benchmark value. Evertex calculated the benchmark value by taking the 2022 monthly average revenue from the cargo handling department of the airport, which was $781,000. This means that Evertex could be sharing revenue from cargo at the airport even without doing any work, because without any intervention, some months will record more traffic and revenue could soar above the 2022 benchmark value. The Ghana Airports Company claims the contract to Evertex was preempted by its internal audit report that raised the possibility of underdeclaration of revenue by the companies handling cargo at the airport. According to that report, the GACL had failed to connect its systems to those of the companies handling the cargo at the airport. GACL's own audit report highlighted this on page 2 of the report.
GACL, however, needs to improve on its monitoring processes by installing accounting systems in which all relevant data will be recorded and transmitted via computer link-up to that of the operators as stipulated in Clause 534 in the Ground Handling and Cargo Warehouse Agreement.
Instead of installing the accounting system as stipulated in its contract, the GACL chose to award another contract to SML's sister company, Evertex, which had only one worker and had no track record of undertaking the service anywhere else.
The question is, what level of due diligence did the PPA conduct before they granted it? Because this is their act, this is their law. They have set the regulation.
Regarding the SML scandal, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, has arrested several state and private officials implicated in the scandal. Former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has also been declared wanted, together with his aide, Ernest Akwari. The OSP has also started an investigation into the Evertex deal. We also cited a letter signed by GACL notifying Evertex of the termination of its contract. Dated July 28, 2025, this letter was written more than a month after we notified GACL of our investigation. Evans Aziamo Mensah, Ajua Adobia Owusu, and Manasseh Azure Awuni's report.
And that was SML disguised at Kotoka. Revenue Assurance Services have become a major source of concern in Ghana over the years. From Suba Info Solutions, Kelly, GVG to SML, critics say the remedy which the Revenue Assurance Services promise is often worse than disease they claim to cure. That was the documentary by Ajua Adobia Owusu, Evans Aziamo Mensah, and Manasseh Azure Awuni. And Manasseh Azure Awuni, who is one of the producers of this documentary that you just watched, is joining us on Zoom with more. Manasseh, grateful for your time and good job on that documentary that we just watched. The documentary questions the capacity of Evertex to deliver on the contract, even though the airport company limited got PPA's approval to engage the company. Can you explain more about this?
JoyNews, you are muted. I cannot hear you.
You are loud and clear. I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Hello.
Hello, Manasseh?
Yes, you were muted, so I couldn't hear you. Sorry, if you could repeat the question again.
Right.
Once more.
I was trying to find out that your documentary that we just watched questions the capacity of Evertex to deliver on the contract, even though the airport company limited got PPA's approval to engage the company. Can you explain more about this?
Yes, when it comes to the capacity, the company lacked it in a number of ways. One, to be able to do revenue assurance and auditing services. Company or an individual needs to be licensed by the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ghana. We wrote to the Institute, and the response we had was that SML and then Evertex did not have that. The company had only one worker, and the reason, when we asked the Airports Company Limited, the reason they gave the contract out, they said that the airport company didn't have enough human resources. And then we realized that that company had over 1,500 employees.
Okay.
But this other company had only one worker. And then in the writings and their filings, that information was actually out there, but nobody questioned it. Besides, this is a mining and stevedoring company that had no experience whatsoever doing those services. So revenue assurance was even not part of the company's registration details. It only added revenue assurance after getting this contract. So if you look at it from personnel, qualification, and competencies, this company surely didn't have that.
And how does the link to Evertex raise questions really about this deal?
Well, Evertex is a sister company to SML, and then we know the record of SML. In fact, when Evertex got the contract and they were going to deliver it at the airport, the personnel deployed for the execution of that contract were workers of SML. And from our experience, SML got a similar deal at the ports downstream, and they didn't do a good job. Now know that the company and its people and some government officials are being prosecuted. And so finding SML virtually getting to the airport disguised as Evertex raised questions. If Evertex had the capacity to deliver, why would one company win a bid and another company would send staff there to go and deliver? And this company sending staff has a track record of not actually delivering.
Manasseh, I want you to take us through the processes which suggest that there were some underdealings really with this contract that was signed by Evertex.
Yes, the Ghana Airport Company Limited, I spoke to the MD and others, and they said that normally if a company or individual wants to offer a service to the Ghana Airports Company, it comes through management. It will send a proposal, management would peruse it, ask questions, and if they find it necessary and it is of such a nature that the board has to know, then management would take it to the board level. In this case, the managing director of the Ghana Airports Company Limited said the first time she heard about this deal was at a boardroom. So the question is, who brought this company to the boardroom? Then I asked Paul Adomotri, who said, well, even if he did, it wasn't out of order. And that was even not all the problem. We found out that a company called DevNest Systems was the one that did the presentation to the board, and the board negotiated the fees and said, go ahead and award this contract to DevNest to come and do the service. Then when the letter was going to PPA for approval, DevNest was not on the letter, but Evertex. So one company goes to do a presentation at the board with its competencies and experience, and then when it comes to the delivery or the award of the contract, another company goes to get that. So these are some of the things that look so murky when one looks at this contract.
Of course, your SML investigation caused a bombshell in the country. It's still causing. And now this fresh investigation report that you've done in collaboration with your colleagues. What next now with this documentary?
Well, the good thing is that I think we first published the online version on my Joy Online. And before, I think a week or so before the publication, we had engaged them. I actually knew that they were going to terminate the contract. The good thing is that no money has been paid. The company was supposed to have taken 15% of additional revenue that came, but the way they would calculate the additional revenue itself was problematic. But the good news is that no money had been paid before the contract was terminated. So I don't know what else the special prosecutor would do, because some persons were invited, including Paul Adomotri, and questioned. I don't know what proceeds from there. But on my side as a journalist, I think it is good that the state has not lost money as we have in the SML case. It is good that the contract is no longer on the table. We are only hoping that somebody wouldn't pass behind and then again award a similar problematic contract.
Had it not been your intervention with this investigative piece, in your estimation, how much really was going to be paid in this contract?
That is difficult to tell. They said that the cargo handling services or department made money every month.
Okay.
And so they took some past years, I think 2022 to 2023 or so, and then struck an average and said, look, any amount that goes beyond this, if you look at a technical proposal, that any additional revenue, they defined additional revenue as any money that goes beyond the benchmark. So if the average for a certain period is 10,000 cedis a month, whenever they get, let's say, 15,000 cedis, meaning the 5,000 cedis additional revenue, and this company will get 15%. But it doesn't really state how this company would contribute to that 15%. So just like the SML model, nobody is able to point out exactly what SML did to increase revenue or volumes, but it still receives money. So the payment is not very straightforward in this deal, but it is a percentage out of whatever would come in.
Manasseh Azure Awune is an investigative journalist. Glad he could join us this evening. Let's bring in more stories, because the EPA Eastern Regional Office has launched a major crackdown on illegal manufacturing and sale of champagne machines in the region. The operation forms part of the authorities' nationwide efforts to combat illegal mining. Speaking to the press, acting Eastern Regional Director Sidney Kweku-Danso warned that the EPA will deal firmly and decisively with anyone who continues to operate without the required EPA certification.
You've seen, about 3 weeks ago and 4 weeks ago, CEO Eka said, you banish champagne. I know you issue communique from EPA that we are no more entertaining champagne in Ghana. So as part of the enforcement, we decided to do a swap in Eastern region. And on say starting from Bonsu Junction, Eba, the who champagne machine, ni washers, ni bebre, and a shop owners no. Most of them who say omu ni permit and sana omu ye juma. So getting to us who say I have baby omu ye omu tatu Galamsey no pa. And I own who bring river no so one say omu divert bebre. As part of the operation, they decided say yeba inside pa who at least what they are doing, and you can see for yourself the degradation of the land itself plus the excavators that we are seeing. So you decided say basically therefore we've had 4 excavators today. Tomorrow we are going to intensify our numbers and ensure that those who are mining without permit illegally, we will clamp them down because it is too much. The president has directed say removing issues of illegal mining, but it's like we the citizens are not prepared. So we EPA will do our enforcement and ensure say whatever we are supposed to do, we will do it and we will enforce it to the letter.
From the Eastern region, let's head to Parliament now because the majority on the House's Lands Committee is pushing for an amendment to the Minerals and Mining Act, Act 703, to empower the government to raise the 5% royalty cap in the Ewoya Lithium deal. The existing law permits only a 5% royalty, forcing the Lands Ministry to renegotiate the originally proposed 10% under the current government. Addressing the press, Chairman of the Lands and Natural Resources Committee, Collins Dowda, explained why the then NDC minority rejected the previous arrangement in its entirety.
Present administration, Honorable Ama Kofi-Boa, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, has presented an agreement between the Republic of Ghana and Berari TBT Ghana Limited on Lithium. In that agreement, government did not specify any percentage, but said that royalty will be paid as prescribed by law. What it means is that what is prescribed by law at the moment is 5%. Revenues generated from a 5% revenue, 5% royalty, and 10% royalty can never be the same. The preference is to have 10% or more. But the same condition that was raised in the previous regime arises. The law has to be amended. The law has to be amended. So, what it means is that this law, which is the current on royalties, Minerals and Mining Amendment Act 2010 at 794 has to be amended to up the rate from 5% to whatever percentage the minister so wishes. Certainly, the amendment will end up in Parliament for Parliament to consider and pass. I can see, talking to many people in this country and also in Parliament, that the preferred number is 10. But we don't have the capacity to say is 10%, 11%, or 12%. That lies with the minister. That has to be left with the minister. The committee has advertised the agreement seeking public opinion on the agreement. We enacted a law, and the agreement that was presented to us also derived its authority from Act 703. It was extremely difficult for us to pass an agreement which contained a provision which was at variance with the provision of the law. So we advised the minister then to take steps to amend the law in order that Ghana will benefit more by way of royalties.
Well, let's stay in Parliament and speak to James Avajay, who is there for us. James, glad you could join us this evening. There are a number of issues that the minority especially have been talking about, and one of the major ones is the developing story that we got a while ago that the IGP Tete Nyohunu's contract has been extended by 2 years. He was due for retirement on the 27th of December 2025, which is barely a month from now. But we're hearing that there have been recommendations by the Police Council for an extension of 2 years, or by 2 years, of his contract to stay on as IGP. And we've been hearing reactions from the minority in Parliament. James, bring us up to speed.
Well, both sides of the House have been reacting to this. For instance, the minority, some members on the minority believe that this is actually unnecessary. I spoke to a former Defense Minister, Kofi Amankwa-Menu, who feels that this is unnecessary and will potentially breed some level of will bring morale within the Ghana Police Service down and will breed some sort of disaffection amongst the people who are supposed to be supporting the IGP to do his work. For instance, he said that there are a number of COPs lined up to take over from IGP Christian Tete Nyohunu, and all those COPs, as it stands, some are actually 58, some are 57, and they are hopeful that by the time the current IGP retires, they will be right to step in and take over that position in the Ghana Police Service. With what has just happened, some of those COPs would not just be happy with that. And he even went on further to say that it may lead to some of them sabotaging his work as an IGP. But the minority, on the other hand, thinks that this is constitutional, this is good. I spoke to a member of Parliament for South Tongue, Honorable Maxwell Lukuto, who thinks that the argument about the bringing morale down amongst the police service is neither here nor there, because even the officers know that the laws provide for a 2-year extension for 3 terms, which is 2 years for 3 times for any public office holder who attains a retirement age, but the president feels could continue his work. And he also thinks that indeed, if this is the case, the current minority or the previous government had also extended the mandate of some IGPs under their tenure. And so that argument from them especially do not hold water. They think that we need to give the IGP some more time to see what the president saw in him to extend his mandate by 2 years through the Ghana Police Council. And so the two sides, as you would expect, are divided over this. But the argument is not yet raised on the floor. We're waiting to see whether it will come up today or in subsequent days to see what other MPs also think.
And James, what else has been happening on the floor of Parliament today?
Well, Ken, apart from that, the debate has been ongoing. The health minister has also been giving some more explanation about the Mahama Care and how they are planning to roll it out to get it running as soon as diseases that he believes, or some MPs believe, is on the rise in the country. Just gone by, the minority also held a press conference about the free sanitary pad for girls in the schools. They raised a concern about the amount that has been distributed so far. If you recall, in the 2024 budget, the government allocated some 292 million Ghana cedis to distribute free sanitary pads. The minority said per their checks, about 6.6 million pieces of sanitary pads have been distributed so far. They believe that that amounts to overpricing of the sanitary pads by some threefold. According to them, their checks on the open market put the price of sanitary pad at 15 cedis, but when they did a calculation of 66 million sanitary pads with 292 million Ghana cedis, it puts the price of a single sanitary pad at about 44 Ghana cedis. They want some answers from government. The health minister, thankfully, has been on the floor. He has been trying to give some explanation, but the minority will not take that. We expect the the education minister, I should say, Harun Idrisi, to also be addressing the press to pass some more.
James Afeji is our resident correspondent in Parliament. Thank you very much. We'll take a break here. We'll be back with more. You're welcome back. In the wake of rising fire incidents across the country, the Ghana National Fire Service is organizing a fire conference to engage various stakeholders on how corporate Ghana and allied state institutions can help bring the service to global standards. Joining me in studio this afternoon to discuss that is Michael Atokwasa, who is the Deputy Director of Safety at the Ghana National Fire Service. Grateful for your time and thanks for joining us in studio. Tell us a bit more about this upcoming conference.
Thank you very much and good evening to your viewers. It is a day in a year that management of the Ghana National Fire Service, led by the Chief Officer, Daniel Mausi Into, and the regional commanders and the cross-section of our personnel meet, gather, and do appraisal on our performances as per our mandate. And depending on the developmental trend that is going on, hitherto we're developing horizontally. People build, you see, 2-story, 3-story, 4-story, but now we have skyscrapers.
Right.
And looking at it, and looking at our logistics and the human capital, what is the gap? So we meet and we discuss all that. Point to note that we take records of our activities and the duties we perform. We build data, and the data indicates where it needs attention, and we bring this to the table, and we invite all stakeholders. We develop topics to address those concerns. Questions are asked, and records are taken, and communiques are issued. And the timelines are given to addressing all those concerns.
So who and who can attend? Is it open to the public?
It's open to the public. On the first day, we would engage the main stakeholders, the traditional leaders, government officials, civil society organizations, the media, and those who matter. And would have the discussions. There will be panel discussions, records will be taken. The second day, general public is allowed or allowed to join the discussion.
So why is it necessary, if I'm an ordinary member of the public, why would it be necessary for me to come to this conference?
It is necessary because people will have to be, we need to heighten the awareness of the role of the public, because safety is a shared responsibility.
I mean, we're just a month to end the year. We've seen series of infernos across the country. Can you give us a brief statistics of what the fire outbreaks have looked like since the year began?
Yes. Where we entered the year, fire soared a little bit because obviously when we get to the beginning of the year, that is where we have entered with the Harmattan season. So every substance get to its predetermined temperature, and it becomes the flammability becomes low. So the little exposure to naked fire, it starts fire, and it is natural. So when it gets into the middle of the year, it reduces based on the strategies, based on the data we have. we develop our education towards that line. So we intensified our education in the marketplaces, in the commercial space, and all the domestic houses and all that. So it reduced, but it's not stable because most of the time it's a human factor. And that is why it is important that we invite the public for them to know the role they have to play, because it's a concern that for them to understand that fire outbreak we experience is attitudinal. People will have to change their lifestyle. So we are trying to develop a climate that that safety becomes instinctive.
Right.
Safety become a habit, a lifestyle, so that it will help increase the awareness level, and the fire outbreak will come down.
We'll surely be there, Mr. Tokosa. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. And also this evening, the founder of the Progressive Alliance of Ghana, PAG, Dr. John Kpebu, has called for a renegotiation of all mineral deals signed by successive governments, saying they leave Ghana with only a tiny share of its own wealth. He argues that arrangements like the 13% free carried interest in the new lithium agreement violate the constitutional principle that all mineral resources belong to the people and must benefit them collectively. Dr. Kpebu condemned the recurring pattern of handing majority control of mineral projects to foreign companies while Ghanaians receive a small fraction of the value extracted. I spoke with him. Agreement. It's gone to Parliament. You have issues with it. What are your issues?
Yes, the main one is the very great disparity between the percentage ownership that is going to come to the whole of Ghana. Basically, Ghana will be offered 13% of total 100% shares. Then the company that's coming from abroad is basically going to take about 87% shares, or give and take. There are other figures around, but basically, that's how completely it looks completely unfair and unjust to me.
So what would you rather we did?
Well, I think that if this wasn't a pattern, we would have addressed it differently. But this is a recurring pattern in natural resource ownership in our country, where every time the agreement is made between Ghana, a sovereign state, and individuals who are not even sovereigns, we give everything over, and we end up with 10%, 5%, 11%. Well, what would we rather do? Well, the first thing I would want us to do is to first of all understand who the real owners of these natural resources are. And the 1992 Constitution makes it clear that all these natural resources are owned by the Republic of Ghana, which means that they belong to all the 34, 35 million Ghanaians, and they are held in trust for them by the president of the country. So we've got all these people who are owners who must benefit from these things. So we've got to start from there. And therefore, when we enter into any agreement, we should not be thinking of, oh, maybe a few people will be okay with this arrangement. Get a few 13%, they'll be happy. But we should think what it should be, how every person will benefit from this. So I would say, for example, the arrangement they've got now, 13% for Ghana and 87 or so for the Baravi company, we should flip it as the starting point. Ghana, as a sovereign state, should have the 87%. Baravi, which is still interested, it should be given 13% to start with. Then we can start talking.
It appears that this is not peculiar to lithium alone, at least per the statistics that you've given us, courtesy of you. You've mentioned that we are shortchanged even when it comes to the mining of gold, bauxites, diamonds, and others. Let's look at them. Gold. That's a treasure that we've all known that Ghana is producing. We're the leading producer of gold in Africa. Let's look at how we are shortchanged when it comes to gold. We know that we have multinational mining companies, mostly from Australia and the UK, who are mining gold on large scale in this country. How much do you think we've been shortchanged within, let's say, a 10-year period?
Massively. I've been watching this space, and I've managed to get various sources together to give us a very clear indication of what the trends have been. And over this 10-year period between 2014 and 2024, Ghana earned a total amount of $70 billion of gold was mined and sold in this country. However, Ghana, a sovereign state, got only about 17 billion out of this. And basically 62 billion of all this gold money, wealth, was taken away by foreign companies. Now, it's just ridiculous. I just can't see why we keep doing this. It's almost like self-sabotage. We own the thing, we have authority over it, it's ours, and when it comes to getting the wealth out of it, we seem to suddenly forget that this is ours, and almost immediately think that it actually belongs to so-called foreign investors, because that's how we give them everything. And so the same with we're just talking about gold now. So we have this awful thing going on where Ghana, who's got the wealth of gold, doesn't get anything, gets hardly anything out of it. I would say a pittance out of it, and leaves us in poverty. And then we go after handing over the lion's share of this gold, wealth from gold, we follow the people and go and beg them for loans, which they are very happy to give us at a high level of interest, making us continually paying back this. So I think the mentality that allows this to happen, I believe that should not be allowed to rule and govern at the extractive space anymore. This kind of mentality where we sort of, for some reason, one way or the other, bow to individuals who are coming from outside, the whole sovereign state, bowing to people and yielding all that we have as a nation to people, I would say the time for this mentality is over. And we should discard this kind of thinking. Ghana must stand up as equal partners, stand up tall and say, look, this is where we are, this is our wealth. If you are coming in, I propose that you come and do it our way. You may be bringing some expertise, you may be bringing some finances. However, the thing is ours. The bulk of the money is locked up in the gold. What they bring in as investment is a very tiny fraction of what the worth of the gold is. That's why they bring in the money. They'll get so much, much more. So we say we should not be deceived by issues such as, foreign investments, they'll be afraid and go out. No. So we have to change our mentality and demand that they speak to us as equal. We say, look, this is ours. I have proposed, for example, that we actually hire expertise. And they come and work for us. We are the bosses. We are the masters. This is our country.
Right.
This is our nation. This is our wealth that God has put into the ground for us. It's ours. So when they come in, we employ them. That is the so-called investors. They come with their people. We employ them and we pay them salaries. Then we pay them well, commensurate to what they have done for us. But the idea of giving them shares, huge amounts of shares, in fact, excess shares in the wealth around gold, we must stop it, because it is not commensurate. It doesn't line up with our understanding of who the real owners of the wealth is. We've done this for decades. It's basically always ended leaving Ghana in poverty. Go and look at Obuasi, where the Ghanaians live and where the foreigners live. Go and look at the community where the roads are and all that. It's unjust and it's unfair, and it makes me ashamed to be a Ghanaian, because the question will be asked, what kind of people are signing these contracts that leaves their own nation in abject poverty and then continually enriches nations that are not really the owners? it raises very serious issues for me. And we have to change that mentality and rise up, take ownership. It would involve, for example, that we develop expertise. And there are many smart Ghanaians around, engineers, scientists. If you go outside this country, they are doing great things. Even in this country, they are there. We have to empower them to acquire the expertise for doing whatever these foreign investors do in entrepreneurship, or if we could whether they develop the expertise in the way of technical expertise or financial expertise. It involves money, moving money about. All these foreign investors come in. They don't have any money when they come. They also go to the banks and borrow it, assemble it, and come here. They don't have any equipment. They go and look for it and borrow it, assemble it. Nobody has any of this. It's just here. They use their mind to assemble these things. Why can't we do that? We can also go on the world market. You can also go online. You can find all these equipment suppliers. So we are in charge of mining it, getting the wealth out, selling it. So all the money will be here. And that will open the door, make the hands of the government strong to do all that is necessary. We will shift from being borrowers to those who are now in fact be able to lend to other nations.
Of course, this is not something that is happening just today, as you mentioned. It's been decades. We've seen successive governments sign the same contract over and over again. Have you had the chance to speak to the movers and shakers, the policymakers about this, to share your vision with them? Have you had the chance?
We have invited, I think when the first lithium project was going on, the Institute of Economic Affairs convened a forum. A whole range of people, they call them stakeholder interested parties. We tried to say to them, look, this cannot continue. What we have basically lost over this last 40, 50 years is too much. So we talked to them, this mustn't continue. Stop this idea of people paying you royalty. The thing is yours, brother. It's yours. So you take it up and do something better with it. We did, but it was just ignored.
Why do you think it wasn't considered?
Well, it's difficult to say. We do know that the people who are bringing in foreign investors are crafty, and they have a way of satisfying the immediate people that they contact in the process of negotiation. They'll satisfy them beyond their, beyond their wildest imaginations. I don't want to go very far. I think we understand that. Once they have been satisfied, then they can let everything go. But it's only they who have been satisfied. So the people who are at the forefront of the management of our resources, they need to be changed, transformed. They have to think about 34 million people who also need to share in it. So that's one reason. The second thing I feel is because historically there's a sense of superiority, inferiority involved in the contacts. When our guys meet people from abroad, I think they shrink. And they are often not able to stand up and say, look, we're equals here. Let's talk about these things properly. So I can hear what you are coming with, but in Ghana, we want something different now. And I want to speak into leaders. I want to roar into leaders to rise up like lions now and say, look, here we are. We are strong. We really believe in our dignity. Our sovereignty is not going to be undermined anymore. But it requires a change in mentality. So a change in heart, so people are not easily satisfied with the little things that rob the country of the rest, but also a sense of dignity about them.
One would say that the fundamental problem here really cannot be solely attributed on the foreign corporations who come here. Us, as a country, we don't have the expertise. We don't have the expertise to mine these lithium. We don't have the expertise. So really, the fundamentals is having the expertise. If we did, almost everything would have stayed in this country. What do you think we should do to develop the expertise, to not be dependent on foreign corporations to dupe us of huge sums of money? What should we do?
It has to be a concerted government effort. First of all, believing in ourselves. When you say we do not have the expertise, honestly, I don't think that's entirely correct either. Because if you go to the mines now, most of the people doing the work there that foreign companies own are Ghanaians. So there are Ghanaians with the expertise, except that they've been completely absorbed into a system that actually disadvantages Ghanaians. So we can start from there. Our people are there. And then we can make it a priority of our governments to make sure that they identify requisite skills, first of all, and then identify people that can come in and really empower them. I've said before, you can get 6, 10 scientists, engineers, get them in a room and say, look, come up with something in 6 months. Give them food and everything. Come up with the answer to getting this lithium out of the ground, for example. And sure, they will come up with it because somebody just unlocked something there. So it's lack of vision that we can never do this, lack of imagination that Ghanaians cannot do it. What can Ghanaians not do? When you go to the United States, Ghanaians are in space research. They are at the highest level of United States work, such as in all kinds of engineering situations. And I mean, we've got it. God has given us all the same mind. We've got it. It's just that leadership has not yet come to the place where, and I think we must come to this place, leadership, where we say, no, let our people take charge. This, especially when they are young, coming out of universities, get them together and see what they can deliver. I would say that should go across the whole economy. So this mining, for example, this lithium, the contracts that is going to be signed will simply get a lithium ore out of the ground and then shipped somewhere else.
And you can catch the rest of the interview with Dr. John Kpebu on our various social media handles and also on myjoyonline.com. But that's it for The Pulse. Thank you very much for being a part of the show this evening. My name is Kenneth Jesse. See you tomorrow.